Hey there, welcome back to the For the Creatives podcast. My name is Elisha Taderera, and today we have a conversation with Simon and Leonie, the founders of People Tech Revolution. Now, People Tech Revolution are using virtual reality to transform empathy and inclusion in the workplace. They're working on some exciting things. I'm looking forward to this chat. This conversation was recorded at the Tropical Innovation Festival in Cairns, June 2023. And we're going to have a chat about how VR is revolutionizing the way we connect with each other and the importance of having both introverts and extroverts driving innovation. Let's get started.
So you can't think of any introverted people either?
In business?
Yeah.
Is that because, though, the introverted people are usually more like behind the scenes getting things done and the ones usually at the front to the loudest voice, or?
So I always joke about that. I always say I'm the best who I seek you'll ever come across. But even though Simon and I share the title, joint CEO, and Simon does the sales and the pitches and yeah, that's shtick, don't you?
Yeah, I have been known to be called an extrovert, but I have woeful lack of attention to detail. If someone sends me an email with more than 3 sentences, I just won't read it.
We're just talking before about with a business or a startup, you can't just have someone who's all completely extroverted, all completely introverted. You need that balance and that team dynamic.
I think the label introvert and extrovert is quite an interesting one anyway, because I think there's all sorts of variations. It sounds like a linear function of like ultra extrovert.
Either one or the other.
And I think there's all sorts of bubbles and loops, and I know some people extrovert in the right scenario, an introvert. I know put someone on stage, they could be a super extrovert. Put them in a room full of 1,000 people.
And it's like,
they could be the opposite.
We went to this really great workshop around neurodivergence, and there's an awesome professor out of QUT and her partner who used to be, or I think he still is, he's a tech evangelist at Google. And he's pretty autistic. And the way that they talked about autism was not that it was this linear spectrum, which is, I think, what a lot of people have in their head, but much more of this circle where we are high on some factors and lower on others. And I think we've put together our team intuitively. Yeah. But when I think about it, and when I think about that trust piece that Baden was talking about, that's been really important. But we have pulled together a team where we are extraordinarily complementary in our strengths with each other. We're lucky.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
I call myself an ambivert. It's like the middle ground sort of, because I don't get energized by people. But there's a few key people who I'm like, I can be around and we recharge each other.
To go out for a beer sometime.
Yeah, I need to go for a walk, go to the beach, just be by myself. But then I'm not an introvert where I need that all the time. Like I love people and I love being around people still.
I think one thing you'll find, and I can't remember, was it Luke? Safety.
From safety culture.
I'm really bad with names. He said something interesting this morning. And obviously, I'm not like this, and sometimes I question myself as a founder or co-founder, is some people get really into business, and that's all they do 24/7. I can get caught up in that a bit, but I'm still pretty good at not doing that. I think maybe that comes with being a bit older, being co-founders that are a bit older.
Sounds healthy.
And it is, and you have this life balance. So I do think you could be a really big extrovert, and I am more than happy to go out 7 days a week, drinking till 2 in the morning, mentally. My body can't hack that anymore, and I've had to ease back. Otherwise, I just kind of collapse in the heat. But nature and ocean is really important to me. So having a break from work, but not a break from work as in doing something else on a computer screen. It is that going and seeing nature, going kayaking, going free diving, going to the gym, doing stupid strongman competitions. I think that's even extroverts in inverted commas and introverts have to have breaks from they're doing as a startup founder.
Yeah.
And I think you have to actively pursue that.
Well, I just think about the team again, and I think, well, we'll work remotely. So that's a challenge sometimes, not coming together face to face every week. Some of our team members do, and that's great. But we, as a whole, we don't. And then we try and kind of build in, how do we do social stuff, not just work stuff? Yeah. Because we know that everybody has a different way of communicating and thinking, we have a bunch of different ways of doing that with the team too. So we've got Discord, but we do email, and some of the team prefer just to do a video call or have chat so I think we try and mix that up and be good role models.
Yeah.
I think also be inclusive. So I think there's interesting discussions already.
What does that look like?
You were talking about what Baden said.
The trust piece.
The trust piece. And we've kind of done it accidentally just as who we are. And it's just the whole creating a safe culture to thrive in and not being afraid of speaking up, saying an idea. I mean, we've had some profound moments as startup. We've had a member who's transitioning, and they told us before they told their parents.
Oh, wow.
But celebrated it in front of the whole team. And we're like, I'm telling you guys first, it's amazing. My name's now this. And I'm like, that's amazing. Wow. It's like, you're the first people I've ever told. And so to create a culture where
they feel safe enough.
The whole team was on the call, to feel safe enough to say that in front of everybody is quite a special moment. But I think we try and foster that safety. Yeah. And also there's something, when we do try and do social things, it's normally about getting to know each other a bit more using some of those interesting online tools.
Yes, we were on an accelerator program earlier this year, and they used a tool called Gather Round, and we've used it a few times. It's really great, actually. It's like fun social things to do with a team who's remote. It works really well, well. And so we've done that a bit. And I think the inclusion piece for us is about always remembering, because the VR that we make is about inclusion.
Yeah.
So, and without that lived experience, how do you make a good tech product? You can't. I don't think you can. So we try really, really hard. It's always in the front of our mind when we're employing people, the makeup of our team, who's on the team, where they come from, how do we do better? Because, we don't have it right, but we're trying really hard to do better all the time.
And it can make things difficult sometimes, because obviously when you advertise for a job or when you try and find people, especially in the tech world, and I'm sure lots of tech companies find it, it's been going around, maybe not so much now since the crypto crash and there's lots of people looking for jobs, but just before that, people were looking for game designers and programmers.
Yeah.
And if you put a job out there, especially as a tech company, for every 100 people who identify as male, we get 2 women.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to create an equitable team, and that in itself can become a challenge. So it might take longer to recruit someone.
It depends on what you think of as equitable too,
Because it's equitable 50-50?
I don't want to say, but it's somewhere close to that, I would have thought.
I think when it comes to gender, we've probably got 50-50 in terms of male, female. We've probably got actually it wouldn't be 50-50 because we've got non-binary too. So it's not 50-50, right?
Because I don't have any thoughts around this. I've just got just a question. It's like, if everything has to be 50-50, how do we do that? I understand bringing more voices and inclusion and bringing that to the table, but what's the...
And there's so many variables. I just saw Taika Waititi talking about diversity today on Instagram, and he was saying, diversity is not that we have one person of every color in a movie. Diversity is actually, I have a Polynesian writers who are writing Polynesian stories for a Polynesian crew and a Polynesian group of actors, Polynesian, everything. So we're telling these stories. So I think representation is something that's quite different to our ideas around diversity and inclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah. We strive for it. And I think what's happened for us, because we have a reputation of being a safe employer, that we get people coming to us now saying I really like the work that you do, and I've heard about what you're working on, and we want to be a part of that. So we probably do have way more women than a lot of tech companies.
Yeah.
It's kind of terrifying sometimes because people are like, I never want to leave your company. And you're like, you should kind of try to do that.
As long as it's not becoming a cult.
We're really lucky. So we have women, we have young people, we have older people, we have people of colour where, we're trying to reach out, and where we don't have them on our team, then what we try and do is we make partnerships.
Yeah.
So, you've got to look at being creative when it comes to diversity and inclusion.
Yeah. I think you guys are doing an amazing job, and no one's got it perfect or got it exactly right. I think personally, I've been involved in companies where the companies that are trying to tick a box or have one of every person on there. There's one company I worked for a while ago. As soon as I was employed, they put me on, and I wouldn't have thought anything of it until I heard some conversations behind the scenes, but they got photos done. They put me on every sort of, and I'm Australian, but dark skin color, but they put me on every advert and
of course,
a lot of their materials and everything. Yeah. And
look at us, we're amazing.
So we literally just made a piece of VR that's about diversity quotas.
Yeah.
And actually some people in our team have even experienced that, where they've been employed because of a diversity quota.
Yeah.
And that's not a nice feeling, to kind of think that the reason that you've been employed is not because of the skill or what you bring. It's just about your skin, the way you look and your skin color. It's not fun. So some people get it really wrong.
Yeah. Well, we're a few minutes in. For those who don't know.
Oh, shit. How long have these go for?
Well, I was just going with it because this has been such a natural conversation. The others have been really good, but sometimes it starts off too formal. So it's like, oh, we'll just start off really informal and see where it goes. But for those listening, what do you do? So we've got Simone.
Leonie.
Sorry, we've got Simon.
I'm a professional NRL player like you've never known. No, I'm not rich. So we make virtual reality scenarios around shifting culture and behavior in companies and in organizations so you can actually experience what it's like to be someone else. So you wear virtual reality, you can step into someone else's shoes and live someone's life, become someone else, experience things you haven't experienced before. I will say this as a white man, especially as a white guy, you can experience what it's like to be a woman or someone with a disability or a person of color or a member of the LGBTQ community, and some of the things you experience and some of the prejudices you experience at work that could be major or just little microaggressions of like little narky things that were said. And it's like using that emotion and feelings. One of the best things about virtual reality is you can suspend belief and become something else or be something else. If no one's ever tried it, I would recommend trying Richie's Plank. It's another Brisbane-based company. Your brain tells you you're in a room. Your body tells you you're on top of a skyscraper. Your heart rate will increase. You will sweat. Your hands will shake. Apparently, unless you're a psychopath, then you just run off and jump. Which is questionable. And we use that to basically try and create better places to work. I think, Leonie, we've actually been working on our mission statement recently to try and figure out what it actually is.
Yeah, we did it with the team. So we've been talking about that idea of, the VR that we make is about deepening your understanding of yourself, but also for other people. So it's that having that two-way street, I guess, around and hoping that you can take that into, most of the work that we do is based around workplace culture. So taking that into the workplace. So you've got a more productive workplace, build better teams, have people be nicer to each other.
Yeah. And also, going back to the first thing you said, have those introverts or have the quieter people in the room have their voice heard.
Yeah.
Know they have their voice heard. Or if someone is neurodiverse or has autism, notice that and give them a safe space to say things. Or how do you create that safe space to say things? And we're also looking at other things like, how do you de-escalate the situation? So if you have a tense situation and someone says something to you, how do you de-escalate that situation? As a manager, as a leader, what do you do in that situation? So we're actually working on at the moment a series of VR scenarios called Lift VR, which is basically, imagine, you're a senior manager or you're an executive in a lift and someone comes in and says something to you. How do you respond instantly? Or you overhear a conversation with some undertones of racism or bias towards someone. You should say something, but you might not be equipped to know what to say. So what we do is we'll equip you what to say and you can practice it. So you record that, you can play it back until you have it down pat.
Yeah, so you can have that opportunity to really practice those difficult conversations or those moments.
I remember when I was in one of your, sessions in Bundaberg and hearing that about the conflict management as well, I was like, that is such a good idea. I myself think I'm not amazing, but I'm okay with conflicts. Like I don't back away from it. But I've been in like workplaces where so many people avoid it because they just don't know how to deal with situations, from managers to whoever. So I think it's amazing being able to use VR to experience those situations. So with People Tech Revolution, what is one of the current challenges that you're facing at the moment in the business?
I'd say the major one is at the moment, our model's basically agency. So we work with companies who can afford to pay us $50,000, $60,000 an app. And normally a project, you're looking at 2 or 3 apps. So it's expensive, right?
Yeah.
And so we worked with big Fortune 500 companies, with big hospitals and healthcare organizations. And a really good one we've worked with in Australia's Mater Hospital. But we know every time we work with a client, we want to go, what's the problem you're trying to solve? Is the best solution for this problem virtual reality? If it's not, we'll be honest and say it's not, because, make a YouTube video or do something else. But if it is virtual reality, we then go through a whole process. We're really proud of our design process.
Yeah.
Which goes through a whole discovery phase around what's the actual problem, what does a successful outcome look like, and who are the people who have lived experience that we can talk to or interview to make sure that what we make is real. So it's kind of like core to everything we've done in our working lives is work with people who have lived experience and the stories of people to make sure what we do is genuine.
Yeah.
And so we have all this experience. We've talked to thousands of people probably over the past few years of doing this VR. Every company has roughly the same problems. It's nuanced. So we make a nuanced app. It'll be their branding and their language around the finance industry or the IT industry or the pharmaceutical industry. We have companies reach out to us. They might be smaller. They might be like 50 people, 100,000, even 2,000 people, right? And they'll be like, I can't afford a $250,000 project on virtual reality.
Yeah.
Where can I get this training? And so there's a massive need for it and there's a desire for it. And so we're now creating a library that's going to be coming out later this year so anyone can access. So probably our biggest problem at the moment is how we transition and fund building apps for current clients and sustaining revenue coming in, and also having the team build apps for us, as in like the IP that we want to create so we can put out there so it's more accessible to everybody and more companies can use this kind of training. So Leonie's been working on all these scripts and all sorts of things.
Yeah, that's
how
awesome.
we can get that done.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we bootstrap to date. So everything that we've done has been because we've been able to sell to clients and to be able to make these custom builds. But yeah, we want to move. We don't want to move away from custom builds altogether. We just want to also like have this
make
other
things
offering.
more accessible.
Yeah.
So where did People Tech Revolution start? Where did it start from? Like, what was the seed?
Oh, I'm going to give Monica Bradley a shout out if she ever listens to this podcast.
Yeah.
So I think I called her Monica 2.0 once because she seems to be like everywhere. It's quite incredible.
She never sleeps.
I know, she doesn't sleep. So our first company was called The Aging Revolution. We still have a company called The Aging Revolution.
Yeah.
And it started back in 2015 when I was running seniors car for the New South Wales government. Leonie was running the office for seniors in Queensland. And we were looking at the system around growing older and aging. Something has to change. It's all negative. It's all bad. It's all just like
Old people are a burden.
It's just
rather
than First Nations people of this country. It's just like the wisdom and the knowledge and like the respect.
Yeah.
So like, how can we get back? And all we do is like stick old people in a home and then just be quiet and die.
Literally.
And if you can die quickly, that's great for our business model, which is a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
And so we went on a road trip, came back, realised there's like 2.7 million carers in Australia. And we're like, and they were using like Excel spreadsheets and Post-it notes to actually go like, who is this person? And so we're like, what do we do? And we said, there should be an app about this. And so we ended up making an app. That's how we got into making tech. So we worked with QUT and a whole bunch of carers and co-designed an app to help care be more person-centered about who are you, Are you Simon who has motor neuron disease and you take these drugs, or are you Simon who used to like free diving and exercise and this kind of art and this kind of music and don't play keys and Coldplay, otherwise he'll just want to die straight away. That's how we got into tech. And Monica just goes like, just make it then. I'm like, oh, okay. So we did. Fast forward heaps of a few mobile apps and a few co-founder epic failures that we all seem to have. We got into people tech because we made an app around endometriosis that wasn't age-based, and so it needed a new company name. And at the same time, we were looking at how we can create empathy in aged care about the big problems you have in aged care.
Yeah.
It was like virtual reality could do that. And that's how we got into, that's how People Tech started. It's how we got into virtual reality. And then we
were really lucky to be on with that app that Simon was talking about that did fail. Well, the co-founder relationship failed spectacular, but we've still been working on like that idea. But we were lucky enough to be on the Remarkable program, which was really brought us together with a whole bunch of people who were like-minded about doing something in tech that's good for people.
Yeah.
That's around, people with a disability or people who are older or, solving some of those problems. So we were really lucky with that too.
I think, and then so it's not our idea around virtual reality for empathy, but then we were working with a couple of friends and they've been friends for ages and they were going through their own co-founder stuff and they were like, help, we've got a client and we haven't got anyone to build this thing or we don't know how to make it or design it. And so I remember we were on a beach in Perth and we were like, yeah, we could do that. And then we were like,
we can project manage that, no problem.
And then it was like, can we? Yeah, you good. And then we did. And so we actually we actually had a guy working for us at the time called Paul Frame, who was an intern from SAE in Brisbane. And he was doing a games degree, he knew virtual reality. And we're like, hey, if we co-design this and come up with all this stuff, could you make it? He was like, yeah, I think I could. And so we did. And we kind of muddled our way through to make a VR app for like one of the biggest beverage companies in the world.
Oh, wow.
And that's how we started.
I love that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. And then we're like, I can't get at this. Okay, let's do this.
So you didn't map out a 20-page business plan first and, go through all those stages?
No, not at all.
No. I don't even think we really thought that would be something that we would just keep doing. I think we thought we were helping out. And then over time, it's evolved. It just evolved, I think, where the people that we were doing it with were much more focused on innovation. And we're good at managing projects. We're good at it. Like we can get them done on time and we know how to pull a team together. And so that's been our strength. And we've put those two things together, that cutting edge innovation stuff to drive everything that we do, to keep it fresh. Don't just sit back and kind of think that this is going to be the one thing that you do. VR is not an industry where you can sit still for very long. It changes and shifts really quickly. So we need that. But we also, in order to be able to be a successful company, you have to be able to make a product and know what you're doing.
I have a question there. Talking about VR, maybe more AR. It's not my space exactly. But Apple, they just recently released their Vision Pro.
Right.
I haven't actually had a full look at it, but I've heard so much about it. Does that benefit what you're doing? Is there any way you would use that, or?
We were having a conversation about this like literally half an hour ago. Yes, it does benefit us massively, because I think someone actually said to us, when Apple makes something, it's real. And that's kind of like I was like, what do you mean by that? She was like, the iPhone, everyone's got a smartphone. The iWatch, everyone's got a smartwatch now. So Apple have now made a VR headset. It still costs about $5,500 Australian dollars. So, access will be limited, but you'll have all the Apple people.
Yeah, but VR is not going away. I think if to see a company like that invest in it, then you're like, this is tech that's going to be around for a little while.
So I think what Apple have done is really interesting.
Yeah.
There is a big difference between consumer VR and enterprise VR.
Yeah.
So more and more companies are getting into VR, and actually data and data protection and how people, because
that's a massive
the
thing.
Amount of companies we speak to, especially big financial institutions. I was talking to some of the big financial institutions about training, and they're like, we will have nothing from Oculus in our building, let alone in a training environment. So
there are lots of concerns, right? I mean, we've been part of the XRSI, which was until recently stood for Extended Reality Safety Initiative, but is now rebranded to Extended Reality Safety Intelligence.
Okay.
But it's all, and we've been standing up an Australian entity around that, which is all around safety in the metaverse, safety for people who are using extended reality. And I think it's a legitimate concern to think about those things.
Actually, it's my first experience of bias.
Yeah, that's right. It was your very first experience of sexual harassment.
Yeah. So I was in Rec Room. So people aren't familiar. Rec Room's basically a metaverse of a style on Quest 2 headsets by Oculus. You can go in there, you can become an avatar, you can run around, play games, meet mates, play paintball, or play, it's paintball, wasn't it, we played?
Yeah.
Leonie turns into a psycho.
I do.
Yeah, you do. You double shotgun people to the face and celebrate, and it's very scary.
Doesn't hurt.
And so I came out of my room. I was going to say came out of my closet, and that sounded weird, but I came out, and these two blokes came up to me, or we're like, all right, how you doing? Oh, do you want to come into, what are you doing? Hey, do you want to come into our room? Oh, you look really good. Oh, nice tits. I was like, nice tits. This is really freaking me out. And then they kept on being really rude and coarse.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to get back into my base. I looked in the mirror, and my avatar, they'd automatically chosen, I hadn't done anything, was a woman.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, that's what it feels like.
And those were they real people?
They'll be real people.
Well, like in avatars.
Avatars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And basically they were awful to me. And my avatar I was an African-American woman, very voluptuous. For some reason, that's just what was picked. And you're supposed to go through the whole thing and make
customize,
it. Yeah, so, and lots of people obviously make it in their own image. Other people make it in the complete opposite. Anyway, that was the first time I kind of like properly felt, and this goes back to that whole, which is why we do it in VR. This is why a lot of the VR we do, you embody someone else. So you'll look in a mirror and you'll become someone else.
Yeah.
There's a really interesting Stanford study that says it takes about 30 seconds to suspend belief about who you are. It's kind of freaky. But it was the first thing I was like, why are they being so nasty? What are they saying this for? Is this crazy?
Yeah.
And I ran away, and I was like, oh man, this is what people feel. This is what many women feel.
Yeah, daily.
Every day. So it was quite shocking. So that's another thing. That's why VR safety is so important because if people don't know how to use it, or if you have young kids in it, it can be a really scary place.
Well, I was just listening to the story of the guys that created Club Penguin, which isn't VR, but it was like, one of the first biggest sort of like kids, know, what do you call it? Like a PvP? No.
There is a word.
It's a...
What is Club Penguin? I don't even know what it is.
Do you not know Club Penguin? No, it's okay. I don't expect you to know.
Club Penguin.
It's a virtual world. It's a virtual world. It's cartoon virtual world.
Yeah. I mean, I think that qualifies as a metaverse.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like probably one of the first. It was massive. And the two people that had the idea, they went out looking for external funding. Can't remember the whole story, but they ended up, the company they're working for that they were going to leave to start it actually funded it. But a big thing was the safety and the privacy, and they ended up selling it, like when it had been doing really well, but they wanted to sell it to a company that could make sure to put in the safety measures in place that it needed. So they sold it to Disney.
I think those things are really important to be thinking
Yeah.
about. Like we need all that. Luckily, we have a great e-safety commissioner in Australia.
It's awesome. Well, we have gone a bit over time, but I've got one key question I want to ask you both. What would you say your superpowers are individually? Like, what's the thing you're really good at, you thrive in, your real key strength?
Oh, I can tell you what
Do you want
Simon's
to? Yeah. Do you want to say
superpower
it for
is.
each other? Say it for each other.
Okay, you tell me one.
I think Simon's superpower is that he connects really quickly with people in a way that's it's super genuine. So Simon will you can be best friends with Simon really, really fast. And I really think that's a great superpower to have.
Yeah.
I think you got a complimentary one then, which is like you connect people much more deeply than me but over a longer period of time. So between us,
It is complimentary.
we get the intro and the really good deep understanding of the team. I also think my superpower is spreadsheet numbers, quick thinking, problem solving.
Yeah.
And Leonie's superpower is translating all that into how can we actually create something that's functional and works.
Yeah.
And that the team understands. So I think that's probably
Yeah, that's awesome.
super.
Well, thank you for sharing a bit of what you're doing and
Also
a small
drinking,
bit of the
just wanna
journey.
say that.
Doesn't count.
Oh, yeah, it does. Come on. That's how you connect quickly with people.
And
Thank you.
It does help sometimes.
Thank you. Got him.
So, to finish off, we're at the Tropical Innovation Festival, and I just wanted to ask a couple things. If you were to finish the sentence, Tropical Innovation Festival is, what would you say?
I think the best innovation festival I've been to in Australia, if not the world, probably. It's very informal and I like it's very well run,
Yeah.
but seemingly a bit loose.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would totally agree. I would say, yeah, Tropical Innovation Festival is the best innovation festival to come to in Australia. And that's not just because, it's in Cairns. That helps. But yeah, I love the conversations that happen. And I like the way people get up and talk and it doesn't feel like it's forced. It feels like people are just coming from their own experience and they feel comfortable enough to be able to just talk easily.
Yeah.
That's great.
I love that too.
And that's one more thing. It's also one of the things we always do with our work is trying to create a safe space for our team and other people. I think they do a very good job of creating a safe space for everyone here to be included and felt heard. And I think that's really good.
I was in a 1-hour mastermind room with the founder here and they opened up and shared about their journey, but just the way that they felt okay and comfortable to open up to this other group of founders and entrepreneurs about some really vulnerable and deep stuff is just like, you don't get that everywhere. You're not going to just go to any event and have people sharing some of those raw moments. So, yeah.
Yeah, no. So, kudos to Tara and Kate and the team because I think they make it look easy and it's not.
Yeah, I agree.